of the women in the book is Heather Reisman, founder of Indigo Books and Music. So she, again, people always assume that she may have taken a straight path to where she is, but she certainly hasn't. But the one thing with her being the chief book lover in Canada, the one thing that is not in her vocabulary is the word can't. She has pursued everything with enthusiasm and passion, and she was actually one of the first responders that we got, which was kind of cool. Now her is believe in yourself and your aspirations. Don't let doubts or naysayers keep you from achieving your dreams. The only difference between those who do and those who don't are those who do. And if you kind of link that back to Susan Boyle, you can, you talk about the self-fulfilling prophecies, and one of the things that Barbara and I did is we didn't tell anybody about the book, not even our families, for a long time, until we started getting responses back. Because we didn't want somebody kind of saying to us, oh yeah, so you're like two women sitting in a basement in Markham, and you're writing out to some of the most powerful women in the world, and you just expect them to write back to you? Yeah. But we didn't want to have that negativity around us because we didn't want people questioning it, and we didn't want to have that. Now, Barbara, you have a story about another lady who could have stopped her career because of that.
Yeah, one of the most beautiful examples in the book, to my mind, is Kane. And when Karen Kane was, as you may not know, when she was 11 years old, she was accepted into the National Ballet School in Toronto. Her family actually lived in Hamilton at the time. So even though it's a boarding school, her family up this, and moved to Mississauga, and Karen went down. So considerable investment, considerable hardship, considerable sort of, trials just to even get, to where she was. When she was about 15 or 16, so she was in her mid-teens, she was told, by someone in the school that she was too tall and too fat to ever become a principal dancer. Wow. And we all know what happened to Karen King.
So if you think about that in the term of naysayers, then definitely that is one of those things. So, right.
Okay, another one of the favorites is Hazel Mccallion. Obviously a legend in this part of the world. But, Hazel actually started her political career when she was 55. It was her idea of Freedom 55 was to run for mayor in Mississauga. And when she started out, Mississauga was just this little collection of towns. It wasn't really anything. And now it's the 6th largest city in Canada. And it has, about 750,000 people. And Hazel has been re-elected just in 2006, I think, for the 11th time, and with a 91% approval rating. So Hazel is now 89 years old, and just an amazing person. Her early career was very, very interesting. She founded a newspaper, but she also was passionate about hockey. And there was a time in her life where she was a professional hockey player. And as Patricia loves to point out, she's the only one in the book that actually has her own bobblehead. So Hazel's advice was, my advice to women would be to strive for significance, not success. I feel as women, we often concentrate our efforts on achieving material success or climbing the corporate ladder, and do not place nearly as much effort on the contributions we make to humanity and in our relationships with each other. Women need to support each other and to help each other succeed. Don't forget that old adage, you also gleam when you cause someone else's star to shine. You got it? No. I'll get it.
And she's the engineer. Sharon Allen, chair of Deloitte in the U.S. Sharon grew up in a small town in Idaho with a population of 2,000. And when she went to Moscow for her studies, Moscow, Idaho, she started out as an education major, but her roommate was taking accounting. So she went, well, I'd like to communicate with my roommate a little bit more, so I'll take an accounting course. And that's how her career started. And one of the things that you'll with a lot of these women is sort of, they didn't start out thinking where they were going to end up. And so again, sort of when you look at sort of the maps earlier, sometimes it's a circuitous route, and that's like keeping your options open. She's also like a staple on the Forbes 100 Most Powerful list. She's been there for years and years. So her advice, and she actually gave a whole bunch of advice. When we went out and reached out to one piece of advice, actually the ambassador to the U.S. from Liechtenstein wrote more than one piece of advice. And actually Sharon Allen, this is one of the pieces. She has, I think, three in there. But this one is really interesting. It's take responsibility for your own career. And she says, early in my career, I was passed over for a promotion. I went to my boss and shared with him a list of my accomplishments. He didn't know that I had done all those things. The lesson here is, don't assume that the people you work for are aware of all the good work that you're doing. Find a way to let them know without being a braggart. And when you think back to the Virginia Woolf quote of throughout history, anonymous was a woman. In a lot of companies right now, there's women sitting there saying, oh, someday they're going to notice everything I do. Well, you have to go out there, and you have to not be a braggart and saying, hey, look, I did better than everybody else, sort of thing. But there are ways of having that communication. And one of the interesting statistics I came across was the fact that when women look at a job posting, they look to see that they have 100% of the qualifications. When a man looks at it, he's good with 67%. Okay? So again, it's about confidence as well, and understand everything you've done. And one of the things that I always had my staff do is, at the end of the week, always write down everything that you've done. Because to a certain extent, you can lose that. And then say at the end of the year, I don't know what I accomplished, because you forget. You forget back. So, Barbara, over to you.
Jane Ann Gavia. She may not be a familiar name. She's in the United Kingdom. And, but she's very, very, very sort of prominent in business in the UK. And Jane actually, well, she studied accounting, and she had a really sort of growing, successful career within the bank system in the UK. And one day she's riding on a train, and she picks up a copy of the British Hello magazine. And she's reading this article, and it's about Sir Richard Branson. So she says to herself, wow, he would be a really cool guy to work for. So as fate would have it, she goes, when she's in London, to sort of a flat warming party of one of her friends. And she runs into a fellow who was tasked with setting up a brand new Virgin company called Virgin Direct on the money side of things. And so they got to speaking, and he introduced her to Sir Richard Branson. And she actually went to work for him. Now, this isn't the same Virgin Money. She had another, that particular branch got sold off to the Bank of Scotland, and she moved with it for about 7 or 8 years, and then she decided she really wanted to work for Richard Branson. So she went and she founded Virgin Money. But again, it was one of those, just go with your gut, and the whole universe sort of aligns itself. And her piece of advice was, many years ago when I was going through a difficult time, I was talking to someone who mentored both me and Stella Rimington. Stella Rimington was the head of MI5, so the spy network, the CIA of the UK. And I asked how on earth she, meaning Stella, coped with everything that was thrown at her. He said that they had discussed that only the previous day. She said that she knew that all the problems thrown at her would be thrown at whomever sat in the same chair. They're issues that go with the territory and not personally directed. Don't take it personally. Has been the mantra I have lived by at work ever since, and it has been invaluable in keeping me sane, focused, and relatively level-headed. Thanks, Stella.
So I won't take it personally when we stand by lamplighting.